It's me, Chopsy, and welcome back to the Caffeine Fueled Creative Podcast. Sam and I, this is going to be a little bit of a mini episode. Sam and I sat down with Paul Niemeyer, the artist from Mortal Kombat and a lot of your childhood movies and games, to have a quick little chat at Bordertown Comic Con. This was recorded on location, so it's a little noisy, so we apologize for that. And without further ado, here's the episode.
We're good.
Check.
All right.
This is going to be fun.
Let's
This is
go.
our first time doing it at the con. We usually do it at my house or
Oh,
his
sure.
house or-
Okay. No, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, you want?
No, I'll stand.
All right. You can do whatever you want. Okay. Cool.
Sweet.
All right.
You want me to start it?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to the Caffeine Fueled Creative Podcast. It's me, Chopsy, and with me
the
always
Sam
is...
Fortner.
All right.
I've got my caffeine. All right.
Yep.
All right.
And today we are here at Bordertown Comic Con, having a quick little chat with...
Paul Niemeyer. We're really glad to have you on today.
Thanks. I'm really glad to be here. This is a lot of fun. I'm having a ball. This is day 2.
This is a cool opportunity.
Had a lot of fun yesterday, so I'm looking
Good.
forward to the rest of the day. Yeah.
Good. We'll try to make this kind of quicker than our usual, just so that we don't. We usually do about 2 hours, hour and a half
Okay,
of sitting
sure.
and chatting, but we'll make sure we don't take away from your sales or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah.
One of the things, actually, can we have you introduce yourself a little bit and some of your high points of your career?
Okay, sure, yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Niemeyer, and you probably know me best for being the Mortal Kombat artist, the original Mortal Kombat artist, but I've got a couple other games under my belt. A few Pac-Man games, Tron, Tron, Tapper, Wacko, all sorts, a ton of the games. I was part owner of Eagle Games from 2000 to 2005. We did a lot of board games, and I worked for PopCap after that, and I've just done a lot of stuff. History of gaming. I've also got a big history of being an illustrator designer on Michigan Avenue in Chicago, with all the ad agencies. I worked on a lot of movies, Jurassic Park 2, Star Trek 6, Men in Black, a bunch of Disney stuff. I worked on Hercules, worked on Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. I can't remember them all. You know, Disney, all kinds of Disney stuff. Star Wars, Phantom Menace I worked on. I did the marketing campaign for that. I'm just trying to hit the highlights.
This is an impressive resume.
It
A
is.
lot of stuff. Oh, and I ran a haunted house in Chicago for 9 years.
I wanted to ask you a bit about
Yeah,
that.
I
I saw
haunted
that
attraction,
Yes.
and that's how I got into the sculpting business. That's pretty much what I do now. Is I sculpt large pieces for like theme parks and haunted attractions and escape rooms and that kind of all over the world. It's a lot of fun.
That is so cool.
Nice. That's awesome.
That is really neat. That's a very impressive lineup. I love it.
Oh,
And when I saw that you
thanks.
did a haunted house also, I thought, we're probably soulmates. And
Totally. Yeah, and you know, that was fun, but it was like herding cats. You know, I had 70 cast members. It was a huge show.
Wow.
32 rooms, 8,000 square feet indoors, 12,000 outdoor with a
we're going to
corn maze.
Chicago this October. We're
Oh,
going to
it's
make
long. It died in 2014. And,
That is a shame.
horrible lingering death, unfortunately.
no.
And went out with a whimper, not a blast. I wish
Gotcha.
I could say otherwise. You know what happened was it's what killed all the haunted houses. In 2012, the Life Safety Code Act came around, and every state, it was a national thing, and every state had the option of interpreting it as they wanted to. You know, so in Illinois, they decided that every attraction needed a sprinkler system. And we were at a Fall Fest pumpkin, farm, and we had a pole barn that we were in. And, there wasn't even running water, much less a sprinkler system.
Yeah.
So I got a quote on sprinkler system. It was like $120,000 to put it in. The barn cost $105 to build. You were like, no, it was game over.
I just heard on the loudspeaker that your panel is up in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to try to fire off questions.
Sure.
And I'm sorry because, man, I really wish we could talk to you all day.
But
Might have to do a follow-up in the future. Do you like a remote?
I've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of had three careers simultaneously.
Yeah.
The haunted house career, the ad agencies, and the gaming stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Three distinct and yet sometimes tied in with each other.
Okay. So before we get to the main questions, what brought you to Bordertown?
They found me.
Did they?
Yeah, I can't remember when. Well, it was almost a year ago, because I usually do the show in Phoenix this weekend.
Okay.
But they were like, "Hey, would you do it?" I said, "Yeah, I've done that show 4 years in a row. Gonna give it a break this year." And
Nice.
so the perfect. That worked out, absolutely perfect. And I'm just having a ball here. I love doing. This is a much smaller show. I kind of like doing smaller shows. A little more interaction like this.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm a way bigger fish, in a small show. In a show like the size of Phoenix, where you've got like the cast from the Lord of the Rings, appearing or whatever. I'm a teeny tiny little fishy.
Yeah.
I'm just there hanging out, and I try not to fanboy in the green room. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid doing that
It's
to you, but
frowned
we kind of
upon.
have to here a little bit.
Right.
That's the name of this game, just a little bit.
But and that's the thing. When they have great guests,
Good.
and you're all eating lunch in the green room together, and you're like, look at that! Oh my God, there's that's lunch next to it. This is awesome.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool.
That is right.
You're
That's
like,
awesome.
I must be a somebody. No, don't start thinking that way.
Yeah.
you're still a nobody. You just got a rep. That's all.
Yeah.
That's true. We have, I would say, two important questions. If we could get two off before we end this, that I think really help our listeners a lot. One of the first ones is, what got you interested in art when you were younger?
Art chose me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just knew. I always knew. My mom always loved telling the story that when we were in kindergarten, when I was in kindergarten, teacher goes around and, what do you want to be? An astronaut, a policeman, fireman. What do you? She said. I said it with such confidence, artist. Like, are you kidding me? You're asking?
Yeah.
You're a 5-year-old with all confidence in the world going, artist.
Nice.
So were your parents pretty supportive of the art career?
Totally
Yeah.
crazy stuff. Okay, and I grew up on a dairy farm in a tiny little German, Lutheran community. So certainly the adverse effects of, it was tough. But my parents were wise enough to see some talent in me, and even though we lived on a farm, they took it on themselves to drive me 25 miles to the nearest town where they had art classes.
Wow.
So yeah, because there was nothing. in the
Yeah.
town. Okay,
That's really
my graduating class had 42 in it. 850 was the population of my hometown. Wow. And here's the irony of it. They were the Grant Park Dragons. We were the Dragons. I grew up. My school mascot was a dragon, and I went and made the Mortal Kombat dragon. What's the irony of that?
You know what's funny about that? You're
That's
going to be
nuts.
doing your panel here in the Hirano Gallery,
Yeah.
and we're in a group of artists that put up a lot of the pieces in that Hirano
Oh.
Gallery, and my piece is a tiger. And people ask me, why did you do this tiger? And I said, I don't know, maybe it was because that was my mascot as a kid in high school. And so we are soulmates.
Yeah.
Oh,
Paul, this is
I'm
turning
telling. Okay, we were talking about the other day with Lucas down the way here. Okay, how there's a synchronicity in doing art, and I don't understand it, but it happens all the time. And if I'm doing one thing, suddenly something I'm doing over here, it has nothing to do with an element from this will pop up over in this.
Yes.
And like this, the dragon, it's crazy. There's a weird synchronicity, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Nice.
All the time.
I believe that too.
What was the other question you
So
wanted?
this is the other big one before, because you
Sure.
have about 10 minutes before.
Sure.
But the other one is, when in your life did you feel that you were going to be able to make a career as this and be able to make money with art?
Oh, you know what? I kind of made up my mind to give it the best damn shot I had at it. And if it didn't fly, then it didn't fly. You know, and luckily, my parents were, like I said, very, very supportive. But you know, they knew nothing of the business. They were farmers.
Yeah.
You know, so their support was like, go get them. You know.
Get up every day and do it.
Right. But I had an uncle who was a lawyer, and of course his advice was, make sure you take some business classes for when the art thing falls apart.
Yep.
Not if the fall.
Yeah, it's
It's
when.
when the art thing falls apart.
Yep.
And I remember, I will never forget that, because quite honestly, that was probably one of the biggest motivators to me, was to show them that I can make it.
Yeah.
You know, just because of that one word, when it fails, oh, you son of a, I will show you, I will make you eat those
Have you talked to him
words.
since?
Oh, yeah.
Has he said, like, wow?
Well, yeah. Well, actually, my mom passed 2 years ago, and he came to the funeral, and we had that discussion. I said, "Do you remember when you said all that?" I said, "I got to tell you," I said, "I was so pissed off at you about that." I said, "I kind of was probably part of my success is that, you know, I'll show you." And he's going, "Well, you're a true monk, right?" That's the other side of the family. Monks, you go, "Yeah, you're a true monk, stubborn and stupid." You know, hey, screw you. Yeah, that's the other part of it too.
Yeah.
Foul mouth too.
Nice.
That is great. Well, hopefully, I mean, yeah, if we can catch you at another time and do a little bit more add up to this, that would be great.
Sure.
But if not, and you get too busy, I really appreciate this.
Yeah.
I'm sure Chelsea
Yeah.
does too.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Actually, there was one other incident that was very motivating. I worked. My first job out of college was at a sign company, and one time we were working on a big project, and we all stayed late, and we got pizza. And we sit in the break room afterwards, and we're all kind of talking. Well, what do you want to? You know, and he goes, "I want to open up my own sign shop." And the other guy, he wanted to paint custom cars, you know. And I said, "Oh, I'd love to, you know, do pinball art and video games." I mean, I even in college, you know, I'd skip class to go to the union to go play pinball. Pinball was my love. And,
Yeah.
it turns out I was playing Paul Ferris's game, and he became my boss. Again, the synchronicity.
Yeah.
You know, he became my boss later.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, that was kind of my okay. So that's what we're all saying. And I remember the shop foreman was one of these grizzled guys that looked like he'd spent like 100 years out in the sun, just all wrinkled faced, you know. And he constantly had this cigarette with about an inch of ash. You know, and all you can do is watch the cigarette bob as he talked,
Yeah.
wondering when that ash is going to fall. You didn't even hear what he said. And it just, you know, that's who this guy was. So he pokes his head around that cigarette and he goes, "You three assholes will never amount to a pile of shit." And that was one of the most motivating things ever said to me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the other two guys in that room both did exactly what they said, and all of them. And I met up with them years later, and they said the same thing. They said that you know,
Yeah.
Ed was his name. Ed's asshole remark was such a motivator. It was to make that son of a bitch eat those words. I hope he's burning in hell, that cigarette in his mouth. F him.
Nice.
Yeah, there's our motivation.
I love that.
So, yeah.
All right, well,
And quite
thank you
honestly,
so much.
way more than any accolades, way more than go get him or any attaboy, none of that shit is, you know, those are all momentary. The ones that
Yeah.
really last with you are the ones that, "You assholes won't amount to fucking nothing."
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's
let my
kind of
ass fuck
it.
you.
All right.
Can we
We'll
get a
let you
picture
go.
with
Thank
you
you.
too?
Thank you to Paul for sitting down with us and giving us a little history about what he's done and telling us some awesome stories. It was a blast chatting with him. Wish it could have been longer, but that's where we're at. To find more from Paul, probably the best places would be on his Facebook or his Instagram, Paul_E_Niemeyer, and we'll have both of those linked in the show notes. The theme song for the podcast is Escape the Maze by the Lab Brats, used by permission from Adam Wallace. You can find more from myself, Chopsy, and Sam, my hetero life mate. over on our website at caffeinefuelcreative.com. And until next time, make some art.